Famcast Media, bitch.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, persons of all ages, welcome to the most exclusive group in the wrestling community. And now, your hosts, first, from Guadalajara, Puerto Rico, Macho Rodriguez, and his tag team partner from New Brunswick, Canada, God's gift, Tyler Taylor!
Wrestling, and this is a special show today because we have Paddy Rican joining us from Working the Marks. How you doing, Pat?
It is an absolute honor and a privilege here to be on with the Canadian Rican Connection. I've been a fan for a while, so it's fantastic to finally be here with you guys and chop it up all things wrestling. By the way, I can determine that by the apron of the ring, if you take some of the words that are highlighted and you divide it by 3, it'll tell you the exact time that CM Punk is supposed to be at Survivor Series. Okay, trust me, I got a good source on that. All right?
Absolutely, I love that.
Wait, how's he going to be at Survivor Series if he gets revealed as the devil on Saturday night?
Oh my God! Here we go. We're
I heard that his dog is actually the one that's the devil. Larry the dog, because the ACL injury was a fake.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I thought he tore his ACL.
Before we get into the show, guys, I wanted to wish a happy 71st birthday, or would-be 71st birthday, to Macho Man Randy Savage. He was born this day in 1952.
Freak out.
He is gone and never forgotten. One of the greatest of all time. And Tyler, I believe your all-time favorite wrestler, right?
Yeah, definitely. All-time favorite. There's Edge.
It's either him or Edge. Yeah,
he's in the top. There's like 2 or 3 guys. He's there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's one of the greatest ever. Before let's jump right into the show, guys. So why don't we start off with topic number 2 then? Why don't we start off with CM Punk? Let's find out right now. Where are your thoughts, guys? Who's got it first? Tyler, why don't you jump in first? Where's CM Punk going to join up?
All right, so I was on my personal Instagram the other night, and I saw he had posted a story because we can't see them from our show Instagram because we're blocked.
Us, yeah.
Phil.
Oh, he blocked you guys too? You guys are part of the club? Nice.
Yeah.
Look at us, we're block buddies.
Yeah.
And I saw the same thing. I'm assuming that everyone else saw, where he posted the thing about him being the devil, Beelzebub, Lucifer, and he's got horns and all that shit. I don't think he's going anywhere, to be honest with you.
Oh, I like that. Okay. I'm actually, I agree. I don't agree necessarily, but yeah, I definitely like what you're saying there. Why don't you believe he's going anywhere?
Because this is just Phil. He's just messing with us. That's what he does. Mm-hmm. He's sitting at home watching Blackhawks games, seeing Connor Bedard every night, and loving life and commentating on MMA. And why would he want to? Like, the hassle that he just went through, why would he want to go somewhere else right now?
To finish out the way he wants to, possibly. What about you, Pat? Where do you think he's going?
First of all, I got to say Connor Bedard is one hell of a talent. Reminds me a lot of my guy over here, Jack Hughes, a little bit, young guy with a ton of potential. So definitely not the worst thing in the world to be watching Connor Bedard and the Blackhawks right now. They're doing pretty darn good. That being said, I think, and I'll get to that stupid troll comment in a minute, but I think that CM Punk is a very intelligent man. Phil Brooks is a very, very, very intelligent man. Absolutely. And he knows what's going on, and he sees what's going on. And he looks at social media, and he sees that some people think he's the devil, and some people think he's showing up at Survivor Series, and some people think he's going to Impact and all this other stuff. And he leans into it. He leans into it, and he has fun with it. To Tyler's point, he is a troll to some extent because this is what he does. But I gotta say, I think that the money, if it's there, the ability for him to go out to WWE and do something interesting again and to captivate everybody in wrestling's attention, I just think that that's something that he cannot resist. And I think that for him to be able to do that in Chicago, to, in a way, right or wrong, right? Because, you know, he was left off that card in Chicago for AEW. I think for him to right or wrong, to go back to WWE, to feel that energy again, to work with a guy like Shinsuke Nakamura, which has been the rumor, right? I just think it's a win for him. I think it's a win for all the fans. And I just think that it's going to add up to more money in the future. I mean, how long before the next WWE game comes out? You know, you put CM Punk in that game, man, you're making a ton of money. You make a new CM Punk t-shirt, you're making a ton of money. I just think that at this age, right now, where he's at, why not? Why not, right? Because you're not going to be this young forever. You know what I mean? And he's missed a considerable amount of time already, right? So come back, do it your own way, do it on a high note, and prove it to everybody. Prove it to everybody that, you know what? I'm not the problem. I'm a professional, and I can go work where I got to go work, and I can do my job, and I can bring in ratings, and I can bring in money. I think he's going to do it. I genuinely feel like he's going to be at the Survivor Series.
I like that. I'm more of the mindset, like we had talked about on your show, I believe, before, where I would like him to forego both of these shows and be a surprise entrant at a Royal Rumble. I understand that this is Survivor Series, it's in Chicago, and it's a big deal for him. But I personally believe that if you bring out Randy Orton at the end of the show, if Randy's the guy, people miss Randy right now. I don't believe Randy gets the 2015 Rey Mysterio treatment. I don't think he gets booed if he comes out, because I believe they're afraid Randy was going to be forced into retirement. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know if that's true or not. Now, with the added element of Drew McIntyre, Randy and Drew already have, you know, ongoing history, Randy and Cody Rhodes, it all just makes sense to me. And then, you know, Randy could ultimately turn heel on Cody, and that could be like his big lead up to WrestleMania. That would work really well. But God damn it, D, with your stupid comments here. And then I definitely
needs to retire for making stupid comments like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Except for the Pedro Pascal might be under the devil mask, because that motherfucker could do everything right now. So, I mean, Tyler, if you don't know, Pedro Pascal from Mandalorian, from The Last of Us, was just cast as Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four for the MCU. So that was pretty cool.
I don't speak the language you're speaking. I'm sorry.
Unless it's Twilight, Tyler's not involved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is the way. This is
the way. I love it. So, getting back to that, I really think that CM Punk, if he does come out in Chicago, Pat, I think we talked about it a while back on your show with Uribe. I think if he does come out in Chicago, I think it's a one-off, just to see, like, let's see if the fans still care. Let's see if they actually want you back, how they react. Now, we know from the last Saudi show that they were already chanting for CM Punk. So fans might be anticipating this. And I think if you could talk about it a little bit here, why you thought that WWE might think it's a good idea to bring back Punk specifically at Survivor Series.
Sure. So with the change in ownership, obviously TKO has a lot of the say, with Vince McMahon phased out, also recovering from back surgery too. Which we did see at the Tyson Fury and Ngannou fight. He was walking around with a cane. At times, Undertaker had to help him. Isn't that ironic? He's walking with the Undertaker and a cane. But
that's great. That's a good joke.
I just realized that right now. Yeah, he had the Brothers of Destruction with them. But basically, TKO mainly. I forgot the name of the guy who's ahead of Dana White. Ari something. I forgot what his name was. Ari Emanuel. There you go. Ari Emanuel and Joe Rogan. You hear me? Ari Emanuel and Dana White have a good relationship with CM Punk from his time in UFC. So even though, you know, it didn't work out for him there, the fact that he tried it, he drew pay-per-view numbers. I mean, he drew pay-per-view numbers that some established fighters couldn't even draw. Yeah. So that fact alone, and his humility and his dealings with them business-wise, they really liked him.
Yeah.
That being said, they want to keep the buzz going. They want to keep the hot momentum going, and they don't want to have a crowd that's going to be kind of cheering or chanting for CM Punk the whole night and not being into the show. They want to give the fans that moment where they have CM Punk. And more importantly, yeah, Randy coming back is great. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome, especially with the fact that Randy's career was, potentially going to be over. But I mean, CM Punk coming back to the WWE. I mean, that's like the last, I think, impossible thing left in wrestling. And you know what? If his hero Brett went back, I wouldn't be surprised if he did it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I love that. Especially, because he's a big fan of that, which leads me to his boys over there in AEW, which it seems like AEW is kind of dwindling, but we'll get to them in a little bit. Tyler, do you have any other thoughts on CM Punk and the possibility of him coming out of Survivor Series? Or if you think he's under the devil mask, lead us into the AEW topic, if that's what you think.
I don't think he's under the devil mask. That would be the most incredible work that I think we've ever seen if that were the case. It'd be awesome, but I don't think that's what it is. Sorry?
I was going to say, you think that would be more incredible than Vince being the guy under the hood?
Yeah, because that sucked.
That did not suck.
That is universally panned. It was me, Austin. It was me all along. Yeah, no, that's.
I mean,
we loved it.
That's a meme.
It drew good ratings. You know what I'm
saying?
saying?
So did everything else in 1999, though. Like,
yeah, I mean, because it was good. It was good. It was good stuff. It was good character work. I mean, look, was it the peak of Austin and McMahon? No, it wasn't. It wasn't. No. It was kind of the tail end already. There was a lot of mistakes that were made during that time too. I think if we're going to be fair about it.
Yeah, there were, but at the time it was so hot that it didn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, and maybe there you go. And maybe at the time, maybe it wasn't. But I know now that it's basically become a meme, and maybe that's just because we don't, everything eventually does. So yeah, I do think it would be better than that because like it's just it would. Well, now that people have started talking about it, if people hadn't caught on and started talking about it, and it happens to be him, like how shocking is that? Now it's like, okay, well.
Well,
it's ruined. We ruin everything.
Yeah, this is actually a good segue. I love the way you phrased that at the end because this is a good segue into like what was supposed to be the first topic, but I think it actually works out better this way, guys. So I feel like there's this weird dynamic with professional wrestling fans right now where we're in this era of either speculating or anticipating anything. And I'm just curious, what do you think, like, why do you think that this has become such a taboo topic? But I feel like what wrestling fans do is that they speculate, and then if they don't get what they wanted at the show, they're immediately pissed off at a speculation. Like it didn't happen. You made it up. You saw it on the internet by zero news. Somebody who doesn't know who the fuck, the guy's so bad, he actually had to tweet today that he's done posting spoilers. Well, yeah, when you're wrong enough, people start calling out about it. You know what I mean? So I think it's something that's actually hurting professional wrestling today. What do you guys think about this speculation versus anticipation?
I mean, you can go back as far as the 2014 Royal Rumble, and everyone just assumed that Daniel Bryan was going to be in it and he was going to win it. And that was never, announced. It was never, nobody ever said that. Everyone just assumed. And then, like we talked about before, Rey Mysterio gets booed. When was Rey Mysterio ever gotten booed? Just that one time.
Chicago, Illinois, bro. He got booed for his triple threat match. They wanted Kurt Angle to win. Go back and watch the tape. It's crazy. He gets booed. He gets booed out that building.
Okay.
They weren't even happy when he won the world title. It's nuts.
But you get my point. Like he's one of the most popular superstars in the history of the company, and he's getting booed because we all worked ourselves up thinking it was going to be one thing, and it wasn't.
Exactly. That's
so we can go back that far. Like, can you imagine if go back to All Out 2021 when the lights go out and it's Adam Cole and he gets a good reaction, but like if Bryan doesn't come out, like everyone's gonna say, "Oh wow, that was a huge disappointment."
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, Adam Cole was the surprise. I think people knew Bryan was going there, but Adam Cole was the surprise. But Bryan just overshadowed him because that's what he tends to do.
It would be pretty sweet if they did that again with Randy and Phil on Survivor Series.
Yeah.
I don't think WWE wants to steal anything from AEW. But what do you have to say about it, Pat?
Well, first of all, I think the Danielson and Cole thing, it was a great idea, but I think they should have debuted Cole on Wednesday, and I think they should have just had Danielson come out at the pay-per-view, and that was it. I think having that back to back, it was like a little too much. You could have saved the pop. You could have saved it for the show, and then you could have built anticipation for the programs. But getting back to the whole spoiler thing. I just think that's just a byproduct of everything. You know what I mean? Like whether it's movies, TV shows, everybody wants to know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? And I understand, but I think it takes away from the experience. And to your guys' point, it's like sometimes there's somebody that suffers as a result of that. Like Rey Mysterio suffered as a result of that, or certain people get booed because, again, the fans work themselves up into thinking something else.
Agreed.
So when they don't get that, then automatically this sucks. And again, I think it's a bit of a prisoner of the moment type of thing. It's like, why don't we see where this is going to go? Why don't we let this marinate a little bit and get to the payoff? And then when you get to the payoff, then you can kind of feel how you want to feel about it. But I think wrestling fans in general just tend to get really upset about like one-off bookings or like episodic style booking. When it's like, this is trying to get you somewhere. Like, they're not always going to have matches. This guy's not always going to win. That person's always not going to talk. Like, you're telling a story to get to a point. And, I don't know. I just think that far too often we don't really enjoy things. And like I was talking about before we came on, the Vladimir documentary on Peacock, Superfan. If anybody out there gets a chance to watch it, or if you haven't already, it's great. But what I love about this guy is like, this isn't like an internet guy. Like, he's not talking about like, you never see the guy upset when he's at a wrestling show. He's having fun. He's enjoying it because he's there to experience it. You know what I mean? And I think that maybe perhaps the internet has kind of taken that away for some of us, but I think we need to kind of find that again so that we can really truly enjoy wrestling for what it is.
Yeah. That's a great point. Like, I took my stepdad to a Dynamite a couple years ago for his birthday, and it was right around the time that Bray Wyatt's 90 days were up. And they had snuck somebody into the building under like a blanket or something earlier in the day. And it was going around throughout the crowd. So everyone thinks it's going to be him because the main event's Cody versus Malachi Black. So it's like a perfect time for him to debut. Anyway, it ends up being Tony Nese. And the crowd was just like, and I mean, obviously nobody cares, right? But like the crowd was just deflated.
Which is a shame. It's such a shame because Tony Nese is a really good worker, man.
He's a good worker. He just doesn't seem to connect with the audience, and I mean, obviously, it wasn't what they thought.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you guys, and Pat, I definitely have to agree with what you're saying, that it's not just professional wrestling, it's everything, because if you notice any MCU project that gets bad ratings, it's because there wasn't that surprise cameo. Like, everybody goes into the movie thinking like, ooh, this person's going to show up, or that person's going to show up, and then we go through the whole movie, and it's like, but we didn't get that person. Like, where's this person? Like, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden, it's like, all right, like, this movie sucked. Like, you just completely forget about the entire movie. And that's how it is in professional wrestling too. Like, you watch an entire pay-per-view, you're waiting your entire time, and then you're like, okay, so I believe that no matter what happens, that fans on Monday morning will be poo-pooing Full Gear. It doesn't matter if they put on a good show. It doesn't matter if everybody works really well. That people are just going to be like, it wasn't Punk. Because when they unveil that whoever's in the Devil Mask, which speculation says that it's going to be this Sunday, we're going to find out this Sunday who it's going to be.
It's probably Jack Perry.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. So if it's, if it happens to be Jack Perry, people might just be super upset, but it could catch really good heat.
I think that would be cool.
Good heat.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, it'd be pretty. Yeah, it would be good. And then I feel the same way about Survivor Series. If we make it the whole way through Survivor Series, Randy Orton comes out, Team Cody wins the match, which I kind of feel like Judgment Day has to win this match. It just makes sense for the story. But when I look at that, I feel like if the credits roll and CM Punk doesn't come out, we don't get Mr. Phil Brooks there in Chicago, fans are going to be upset. Like, that's just what it's going to be. But as Pat, me and you have talked about this a lot, WWE is unique because the fans in the stands are different from the internet fans. So we know that the people there are going to be excited about Survivor Series no matter what, because they're going to be getting a really good show. They're not going to get the shit show that AEW brings them like 70 times a year.
But it is a smart town, though. That's the thing. You're talking about a smart town like Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Chicago, New York, Boston, Philly. You know, those are smart territories. That's the Northeast. This is basically, you know, Vince's area. So I mean, you know, it's a different vibe. I mean, but I do agree. Like, they will enjoy the show, and you know, as far as you're saying the main event, the only way I could see the face team losing is if Randy turns on Cody and they hotshot that shit now.
That would be phenomenal. That would be amazing, because the heat that you would get, people wouldn't know, because that right there, like turning on Cody, the main face of the company, like the main baby face, I should say.
It's like kicking a puppy.
Yeah, that's it. That fans are just they're gonna lose their mind, because as much as people want to say that LA Knight is the main baby face, he's not.
No, he's not.
He might be the main baby face on the mid card, but he's not the baby. He's not the main baby face in the main event scene. It's Cody's world, and you could tell by the promo that like everybody cut. You know, even Damian alluding to the fact that he could beat everybody in the ring, but he's still not going to be a champion. You know, like it's ramping up the fans as to like, you know, we want a title on Cody Rhodes, and we want one title on Cody Rhodes. So, I mean, we'll see what happens, but I was just very curious to see what you guys thought. But since we bring up Bryan Danielson here, why don't we talk about Bryan working injured, now working 2 shows before he's actually supposed to come back? You know, Pat, you and I are big Bryan fans going back to our teenage days. Tyler, I know you're a big Bryan fan. I know you don't like his fan base entirely, but I know you're a big Bryan fan. So what do you guys think about all of the injury concerns in professional wrestling, specifically with what Bryan's dealt with, and then he's coming back to work this tournament, as well as working Okada in at the Tokyo Dome?
Tyler, you could take it first if you'd like.
Okay. With this type of injury, I wish he would just heal up and put his health first for once. It's one thing. It was one thing to work with a broken arm. It's another thing. Like, this is not the first time he's broken his orbital bone.
No, he's worked with it before.
Yeah, I know, and I mean that could lead to some serious stuff.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's trying to follow in the steps of his mentor. Maybe he wants a lazy eye, just like Shawn Michaels. So we don't know. Maybe that's what his intention is.
Could be.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know, Pat. Why don't you go? Like, what do you think?
Well,
about this?
it's funny you mentioned the eye thing, because the guy who messed up Sean's eye was Kane, and Kane was Bryan's tag partner. So I mean, there's another similarity right there.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think Bryan Danielson knows what he's doing. If it was really that serious, he wouldn't work. I get that he wants to do right by Tony, but I think he's past that point already. I think his objective is to go to Japan and to work. And I think perhaps maybe proving that he could do this, being an asset for the company, and getting himself ready for the match against Okada in Japan, which is going to be the match of the year next year. Like, that's it. Book it now. Write it down somewhere. That's what it's going to be.
It was the match of the year last year.
It was amazing. It was.
You know, it's fun. It's funny you say that. I was watching last night. It's called
Mm-hmm.
WrestleTalk, and they do. It's called Tables, Lists, and Chairs. They're doing best AEW pay-per-view matches, top 10. That was not on any of the lists.
Wow.
Well, I mean,
it's
really hard when you have a Mark, you know, like a Mark podcast.
Do you think because it was a dual card, like it was New Japan and AEW?
Well, no, because Kenny and Will was on all of them, top 3.
Gotcha. Okay.
Number one, all 3 of them unanimously number 1 was the Kenny and Hangman versus Young Bucks tag match.
That is not even the best match in that like company.
I mean, it wasn't a bad match at all. I'm not going to sit here and poo-poo it, but I mean, to say it's the best match on pay-per-view.
I guess it just depends what you like. I loved it, but
yeah. I mean, that's a very valid point. It does depend what you like. I appreciate it because I mean, I'm not one of these people that shits on the Bucks. Do I think that they're maybe unprofessional at times? Maybe that's subjective, right?
Probably, yeah.
Probably, but those guys can go, and Kenny Omega can go, and Hangman can go. And there's no way in hell that anybody's going to sit here and tell me otherwise. You know what I'm saying? And you watch those guys' matches, and they are good. They are good.
To me, with that match, there was a little difference. There was a story being told where like they're all friends and like Hangman's like, look, I worked my whole career to be a champion, and you're trying to take it from me.
Yeah.
And then they're like, is he going to turn on Kenny? Is he an alcoholic?
Yeah.
That whole thing, yeah.
Is this pre-butterfly pants controversy? Because I know the butterfly pants controversy was like a big thing for he's wearing butterfly. I'm like, dude, you ever seen Ric Flair's robes? He's got fucking butterflies on them. They're pink with fur. Are you really gonna come on?
This was right before COVID, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Revolution 2020.
I mean, it was a great match. It definitely was. I mean, it's certainly
actually a really good show.
Yeah. No, that was. I think that was when they were doing a lot better. I would still say, the show where Danielson and Cole debuted was probably their best show, top to bottom.
Show, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
but I mean, wow, that's wild that they didn't even include Danielson and Okada.
I know, I was surprised because like I like the other match better too, but the Will and Kenny match. But I still think that match, like Lewis and I have compared it before. It's like just depends what kind of art you like. Like they're both amazing.
Yeah,
it's just whether or not you like impressionism or you like I don't know a lot of types of art.
Nouveau riche.
Sure. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, when we talked about, I think I talked about it with both of you separately. I agreed with you, Pat. I felt that match was super unsafe. I felt like they were unnecessarily stiff. They weren't really snug in that match. I didn't think it was as good as their first one.
But that's the thing, though. It's a tribute to All Japan. It's a tribute to 90s All Japan. That's what they're trying to do. I get that. Yeah. I understand that,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like, pick your own poison type of thing. But to not have Kenny or to not have Bryan versus Okada on a list, I almost feel like what was
takes credibility away. Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit.
And it's not even like they had Bryan all over it, so it wasn't like they don't like Bryan. Like they had Bryan versus Zack Sabre on it.
Did they have Bryan versus Kenny?
Not a pay-per-view match.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. That's right. Yeah.
I was gonna say because Bryan versus Kenny, Bryan versus Paige, Bryan versus
Paige,
phenomenals.
Yeah.
Bryan versus MJF was, I believe, top 3 on all of the lists. They all said it was the best Iron Man match ever. Yeah.
I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, yeah, that's it was a great match. I think it's the best match of MJF's reign, if I'm being 100% honest.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, I agree with you there.
Mm-hmm,
yeah, I mean,
sure.
Going back to Bryan's injury history, I feel like he's gotten to the point in his career where we don't know how much of this is truthful or not. We don't know how much of it is a work or how much of it is shoot. Like, is this injury angle for him to go out there and he wants to wear the eye patch again? Does he want to do that? Does he want to go to New Japan and just be like this main guy? Because he is working London and he is working New Japan. So maybe he just feels like, hey, I'm not doing this again. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to sit back while everybody gets to go break records in a company that I'm helping build. You
referenced the tournament. What tournament is it?
The Continental Tournament. It's a Continental Tournament and it's 16 guys and he was number 1. So it's some kind of tournament that AEW came up with. They made it out. Bryan Danielson and Tony Khan made the announcement last week on Dynamite. It was fairly popular at the time.
It's not like I host a wrestling podcast or anything. Sorry.
Yeah, no, not at all. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to some of that stuff. But I've tweeted directly at Tony Khan because I'm very curious for a guy who continues to say weekly. And I don't know if I'm just looking at your mother, D. For a guy who says that he absolutely loves Bryan Danielson and feels like Bryan Danielson is like
I'm shocked he spelled overrated right.
I'm shocked he spelled Danielson right.
You want to talk about match of the year? It's Dave against spelling. Like Dave versus spelling is the match of the year all the time.
Did you see the episode a couple weeks ago where my name was spelled wrong?
Yeah, what? His name was he spelled his name wrong in the letterhead.
How do you spell Tyler wrong?
Taylor.
Put the Y in Taylor.
You spell Taylor? How the fuck do you spell both those names wrong? He's just provided us with comic relief here.
Where was I now? We were at
Danielson.
Where was I? Yeah, Danielson. What about the B man? Was I talking about
the
here?
Continental Classic? You tweeted Tony Khan.
Oh yeah,
all this other
Tony
stuff.
Khan. I said, listen, Tony. I was like, being that you're such a big fan of Bryan Danielson, are you really going to let this man retire without another Kenny Omega match? Let's be honest with ourselves. Is there someone on this planet that loves professional wrestling that doesn't want to see those two go one more time? We have an unfinished match from Arthur Ashe.
And Tony was like, "Holy shit, Lewis! I never thought of that."
Well, he obviously I'm some fucking shitty guy on Twitter, so it's not like he's gonna just like comment back on me. But it definitely
would. He totally would. I mean,
he would have said something if I would have called him a cokehead or something like that, but not just asking him a genuine question. I just wanted to know if he would answer, if he would actually tell the fans, like, just you wait. Like maybe give us like a peek at that, because I think I want to see Bryan versus Mox again. I want to see Bryan versus Cesaro again. I want to see Bryan versus Paige again. I want to see Bryan versus Kenny again. Like, I want to see these matches. I want to see him work the Bucks individually. Like let's see these matches before he leaves. I don't, want to see him work Penta. Like, give us these great matches. So we'll see. I just kind of look at this company and I really feel like they need to do something about the ratings. But as we're talking about the ratings, why don't we jump into what Brian Alvarez said today, which is very strange to watch Brian Alvarez or Dave Meltzer kind of poo-poo AEW. And if I can quote Brian Alvarez directly, he says, I believe that fans that are angry that we bring up the lack of ratings and attendance they're not doing any good service to AEW. And I agree with that, because right now fans are angry that that's all people keep pointing out. And it's gotten to the point where it's like, we'll be fine. They'll be fine. They don't look fine, guys. Now the two beat writers, you would say, that write for you, that are supposed to be mark writers, correct? You would say they're mark writers, right, Pat? Like,
I would say so.
Yeah, they're absolutely, they flipped the script. Now all of a sudden they care as much as everybody else does about ratings and attendance. So what's going on? What do you guys have to say about it?
So when you sent me this format, I went on Fightful and I looked at the ratings, and their viewership is pretty much always the same. So I don't get where that keeps becoming a conversation.
See, but I think that you think that what you're watching is good enough. I don't think that TNT and TBS is happy with what, because every time we talk about that on the show, you always bring it up and you always say, well, they're always around 800K. They haven't hit 800K in a while.
They were at 804 last week, 830 the week before, 904 the week before that.
I don't think they've been close to a million. Like you said, 904.
They haven't. 904 was, I believe, the last one in October.
I mean, and then also with Collision, you're saying Collision is doing well as well?
I didn't look at that. I looked at Dynamite.
Yeah, I mean, they have a show that they marketed CM Punk as the main guy for the show. They gave him the real world title, and now they're using their world champion, which is great. They have a fighting champion out there, so let go out there. I mean, Jay White being the world champion is great. And then I mean, but dude,
I would have no problem with it if it were actually a thing.
Yeah.
Well, listen, he looks great with the title, and the whole Bullet Club Gold thing is probably the best thing they got going in that company right now. Tony Storm too. No question.
Christian's doing the best work of his career.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's definitely carrying Edge right now, because Edge looks lost. This is very strange. Even watching him out there work last week, he didn't even look like himself. I would be regretting this decision. That's my honest opinion. But
I don't know. Maybe he may just be trying to, finding his feet.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sure when he catches his paycheck,
career.
he's probably really happy. Yeah.
I mean, for $3 million a year, bro, I would not be mad. You know what I'm saying? I'd be pretty happy to be working there too if I was getting $3 million a year.
Is that what he got?
So he went with AEW because WWE, well, mainly TKO, didn't want to offer him $3 million a year. And insane. I think they wanted to give him a reduced offer. And Tony Khan was like, I'll give you $3 million a year for 3 years. $9 million over 3 years, dude.
That's the Bret Hart contract.
Yeah. Oh, poor Bret.
Oh my God, it's the same thing.
That's pretty much what we're watching.
Screwed Adam.
Adam screwed Adam.
I have no sympathy for Adam whatsoever. Tony Khan's gonna be like, I have no sympathy for Adam whatsoever. He's not even gonna blink the entire promo.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely see that. I can see that right now. But yeah, when we're watching the show, I mean, Tyler, I know that you're just like us, like you're just a guy who's looking up stats on the internet, but dude, people are reporting about this. So unless we're gonna go another show where you call everybody a liar, I kind of need you to like talk about what Brian Alvarez said.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand what he's saying. Is it that they're not happy with the status quo and it needs to get better, or is he trying to say that it's going down?
I feel like he's saying it's going down and that wrestling fans should be angry and they should be trying to do something about it.
And also, is he talking about Dynamite? Is he talking about Collision? Is he talking about whatever the hell they call that show on Friday night?
He's talking about everything. He's talking about pay-per-views. He's talking about Collision, Rampage, Dynamite. He's talking about everything as a whole.
Because I know Collision has gone down, and that's the question I wanted to ask you is it just the last couple of weeks or is it overall? And then I wanted to know, because I don't know, what was there a specific college football game it went up against or something that may have influenced it? I just want to know what other factors there might be.
I don't think we've had a big nighttime college football game in a long time, like a big
Alabama LSU was the week before last, but I don't know if that's
Alabama's ranked like 12th right now, aren't they? Like I don't think people care.
I think I don't know. They clinched a spot
for
in
their fan bases. You know, they're the hardcore fan bases of those teams care, but
Well, Pat, you have a unique opinion about AEW and their ratings and their attendance.
Sure.
So why don't you give it?
Well, I think that their attendance is not good. I mean, we see a lot of photos. We've seen a lot of photos through the last few years where the crowds are kind of half empty. For the kind of talent that you have, you should be doing a lot better.
Yes.
But I don't think that falls on the talent. And I think that the entire time that AEW has been around, the amount of money that Tony Khan has spent, the wrestlers that he has had on the roster, he should be in a better position than he is now. The problem is that he created that product for hardcore wrestling fans. He didn't create it to appeal to new wrestling fans. He didn't want to bring back people that were old wrestling fans that maybe fell off after the Ruthless Aggression era or maybe even earlier. He wasn't trying to do any of that. He was just catering to that hardcore niche audience, which is fine. That's good that you cater them. But when you have a network TV deal, you got to expand. You got to grow. And for as small as maybe ECW was once upon a time, Paul Heyman at least tried to do more mainstream things to get people's attention. You know what I'm saying? I think that it really doesn't fall to the talent. It falls on Tony Khan. And I think that a lot of the time, Tony Khan perhaps could have done better storyline-wise with the talent that he had to create hotter angles to kind of get more people in. So I think maybe that's what Meltzer means. But I also see what Tyler says where, like, they're still kind of staying at that level. They're still where they're at. You know what I mean? And that's not a problem. But I also look at it from the perspective of somebody like, Discovery Time Warner, where they're looking at it and they're going, Tony, we gave you how many shows and you're still not cracking over 1 million consistently on any of these. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a problem. That's a problem. And I can understand that being a problem. But at the end of the day, I just think it falls more on Tony Khan than any of the talent. I mean, people could talk about 40-year head starts all they want. The guy has had a great roster of talent with a lot of opportunities.
Do you think maybe...
Go ahead.
Do you think maybe with the 3 shows, maybe it's an oversaturation?
Maybe to some extent. I think they could do without the Friday show. I think maybe they could, Collision and Dynamite, I think is enough. Rampage is like, I don't know. It's not even like Sunday Night Heat. It's just like, it's just there. And it's like the hardcores will watch it, but you could put that on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? You could even eliminate it altogether and maybe just add an extra hour to your other program. I don't know. You could do something else, something different.
I mean, I'm a big fan and I half the time forget that it's on and like I'll turn it on for the last 10 minutes or something. To your point about the crowds being down. So the show that we went to and it was October of 2021. It was full to the brim, like you're elbow to elbow with people. Whereas I went to look at tickets for the December 27th Dynamite is in Orlando. And I went to look and they aren't even opening the upper bowl.
Wow.
It's the lower bowl, like the
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And the floor.
You know, I have a question for you guys here since we're talking about AEW. And Pat, you brought up this great point that Tony made this company for the hardcore fans. Do you think that with MJF, we have another Cody Rhodes situation happening right now, and we just haven't been told about it? Because Cody was trying to steer this company into the direction that you felt like what you were talking about. Like, hey, we're trying to build a television show here. We need to expand, right? And it feels like with every scrum, MJF is kind of trying to tell everybody, like, I'm trying to bring back that version of wrestling. So you talk about they're not performing for the hardcore fans, but it feels like their world champion has the intention of performing for those hardcore fans. Like, bring people over here from WWE. Like, let's bring back some of the old timers. Like, I'm trying to do this because right now, when he's in the ring, he's definitely, living vicariously. Like, he's trying to be like the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair. Like, you could tell some of the things he does in the ring is to pop the crowd specifically. That's not this fan base. That's not for this fan base, but they love it. They eat that shit up.
Well, I think a lot of that was MJF. I mean, that's who he is as a worker. MJF's he's very old school. You look at a lot of the guys in his age group. You look at, let's say, Darby Allin, Jack Perry, all these other guys, they're typically flyers. MJF's a very old school wrestler. This dude worked on his body. He got gas to the gills. You know what I mean? Yeah. He looked like a real champion, like a real world champion. He also comes out, he says that zinger, that gets people either to laugh or whatever, but it gets a pop, it gets a reaction every time. He's always been very old school in his approach. And the funny thing is, you watch some of his stuff from Combat Zone, this dude was doing acai moonsaults. I mean, he was doing everything. MJF, I mean, I think AEW fans have only seen like a quarter of what MJF could do in that ring. And it's still been very, very good. It has.
And he's had some really great mentors that have probably told him to keep his feet on the ground. You know what I mean?
He seems to listen. I think he seems to listen. I think the act that he puts on TV is exactly that. But I think when he's backstage and Ric Flair or Cody Rhodes or John Moxley or somebody says, hey, kid, grab a seat, come over here. He sits under that learning tree and he absorbs that knowledge. And I think that's why he's in the position that he's in. I think he's working. But I think at the end of the day, the big difference between him and Cody was that Cody had the leverage because he was an EVP. And Cody was trying to get the company perhaps to go more in that direction, whereas there was a philosophical difference between Tony, the Bucks, and Kenny. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there. What about you, Tyler? Do you think we have another Cody situation with MJF? Do you think he walks because of this?
I honestly think what Max says is what he's going to do. Whoever offers him the most money to the penny is where he'll go.
I don't know. There's something about his approach, and maybe I'm just like reading too much into this. There's something about his approach that makes me feel like I don't think he's doing this for the money. I think he legitimately wants to build a legacy in professional wrestling, and I wonder if he wants to test himself and go to WWE. And if he has people over there right now, like Cody, singing his praises and telling, like, Triple H and whoever's in charge of creative over there, like, we can do something huge with this guy, even if you or I or Pat don't see him in the main event scene over there on the main roster yet, right? Maybe Cody convinces them to, because look, here, you have 2 out of the 3 of us right now don't believe in LA Knight. And he was in the main event with the top guy in the business. And it was talked about everywhere. Everybody loved, 90% of the universe loved that match. So,
who's the one that does?
You?
I do?
Oh, I thought you were an LA Knight fan.
I think he's fine.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, that's Tyler's way of saying he sucks. That's how. That's how Tyler says. Yeah.
I'm not tuning in to see him.
Yeah.
I'm with
you. He's a solid part of the show.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think he's peaked. If I'm being 100% honest, I don't think he can get much higher. I don't think so either. I think mid card is good for him. Do something with Logan Paul if they don't end up doing Kevin Owens versus Logan Paul, which at some point you got to think they're going to want to put a title on Owens. You know?
See, I love that you brought that up, Kevin Owens versus Logan Paul, because Logan Paul's actually been shouting out LA Knight's name in a lot of his pressers recently. So,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
They could be teasing it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we get Logan Paul versus Kevin at Mania. It would be nice to see Kevin get a win at Mania for a title. You know, I'm sure Tyler would appreciate a Canadian representing the United States as our champion here. But
absolutely.
You know, it all depends where they want to go. But I think they're both great options for Logan Paul. Logan Paul is producing some hilarious content. Like when he went to the pawn shop trying to sell the U.S. title.
Yeah,
you know, like
that was a great one. That was an absolute great one. Yeah. I mean, I think the rumor right now is Dom versus Bad Bunny for Mania, so I think that would be massive. I mean,
yeah, it's going to generate interest, and Dom is just amazing. Bad Bunny's proven he could do the celebrity thing. Logan Paul, though, I just see a lot of potential in him, man. I see the ability for him to be a world champion. I love the way that he went to UFC with the US title. You know, he's at the UFC event and MSG with it. Like, you want to see more of that. And I think fans like us who've been watching it for as long as we have, we appreciate those little things like that. You know, because it's like, hey, you know, you're showing the world you're a wrestler too, you know?
Yeah, I thought that was great as well. Since we're talking about changes in professional wrestling, why don't we talk about a change that happened on Monday night? We officially saw the Scottish Psychopath come back to Monday Night Raw as he betrayed Team Cody and Claymore kicked main event Jey Uso and shook hands out top of the ramp with Rhea Ripley as she looked at him like, man, did I make a terrible decision marrying Buddy? What did you guys think of Drew McIntyre finally turning heel?
It's about damn time.
Okay.
I mean, the slow burn's been great, but like eventually we got to pay it off.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. What about you, Pat?
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I think Drew is really, really talented. What I like about Drew is the way he takes everything that they give him, whether he's winning, losing, good, bad, ugly, whether he's in a 3-man band or not, and he makes the most of it. And to me, he's just an absolute professional, man. And I really hope he gets his due. It's interesting with him because he's one of those big guys that could work that indie style, but he could also work that big man style really, really well. You know what I'm saying? So it's you know, it's fascinating, but I just think he's another great addition to that match. And I can't go wrong with it. Can't go wrong with any of it.
I love it. I think it's so great. I'm a fan of Drew, whether he's a babyface or a heel. I think he's just a really great, talented wrestler. When people ask me or when they talk about Drew McIntyre and he can't talk, I think to myself, like, go back and watch that promo with him and Kevin Owens. They torched each other. Like, you don't even know who came out on top. They both look good. And then they won. Then they like followed it up with a great wrestling match. Yeah. Like that's perfect for a professional wrestler, especially now. And I definitely think that right now with the popularity of the Judgment Day, Drew McIntyre joining that group, I think it's phenomenal. Like they went from a 4-person group to a 6-person group. It's a little bit like the NWO, and hopefully they stop here. I
was thinking on Monday night that I was getting NWO vibes.
Yeah, but I don't know.
But I don't know. I don't know that they're gonna stay.
Get kicked out.
I don't know that they're gonna stay 6 for very long. Because did you see the look on Finn's face when Damian said he was the leader? He's like,
yeah. I think that was pretty interesting. I also loved how Rhea pointed that out, like leader, like, you know, you book the matches. So like I thought that was pretty interesting. I think that's a great way to like replace. If you're replacing Damian Priest with Drew McIntyre, I mean, as much as I love Damian, I don't think that's a mistake.
No, and I think it's a great way to get Damian over as a face too, because if he gets jumped by the Judgment Day, they jump him out of the gang, you know, then, you know, that's kind of cool. And, you know, Drew, I mean, if let's say hypothetically Drew gets the case, we don't know. We don't know what can happen, but I love the possibilities of this group being together. And just one quick sec there about Randy Orton. I just had a thought. What if they don't debut Randy Orton at Survivor Series? What if they bring him back on Monday?
Yeah,
You
that
know
would
what
be
I'm saying?
great. That's
What if they do
something
that?
WWE would do, not waste the surprise like that. They already have a sold out show.
And just make Punk the surprise. You know, if that's the case, if that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. All right, guys. Well, why don't we jump into intermission? And then when we come back, we're going to talk we're going to talk Gunther for a little bit because he's been really hilarious recently. And Pat is going to lead us into our discussion by just kind of opening up and maybe throw in some new topics our way.
Sure.
Yeah, man. So we'll start off with this day in wrestling history, which, as we said once before, it is Macho Man Randy Savage's 71st birthday. So happy birthday, Randy Savage. A little bit of non-wrestling news. 15 years ago today, Brock Lesnar beat Randy Couture by TKO for the UFC heavyweight title. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I know Tyler's a massive Brock Lesnar fan. So
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
But I think my favorite thing that happened here in 1998, The Rock at age 25 won his very first WWF championship by beating some shitty old wrestler with the sharpshooter as he put him in the sharpshooter and he just tapped out.
No, Bret Hart lost the year before.
There's not a person alive that thinks Mick Foley's better than Bret Hart. Anyway,
depends what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, also, I love the fact that The Rock won a title on the same day as his dad did because 40 years ago before that, the Soul Patrol beat the Wild Samoans for the WWF Tag Team Championships. I think that's pretty exciting. And I'm not going to go into
his dad beat his uncles for it.
Yeah, isn't that funny? That's pretty exciting. Yeah. So, Tyler, do you happen to have a trivia question for us?
Can you give me a minute?
What the fuck? You're supposed to be ready.
You didn't tell me what I had.
Oh my god. All right. I'm gonna do my match of the week recommendation. I feel like this is a match you've probably seen like 100 times. So maybe you could talk about the match itself. I had you in mind when I came up with the match of the week recommendation.
So believe it or not, I have not.
You've not seen this fucking match?
I have not seen this match. No, I know. And you would think, as such a huge Bryan fan, I would have. But no. I mean, I've seen a few of their matches. To be quite honest, I thought it was a great feud. Yeah. But it wasn't my favorite feud of his. At least not on the indies. I still say him and Loki was my favorite feud because those two were like identical. Just the way they worked and kicked the crap out of each other.
Yeah, it was definitely pretty interesting. Well, the match of the week recommendation is a title unification bout between Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness, who Bryan has said on multiple occasions, if not for injury, everything Bryan did in professional wrestling, Nigel would have done it first. Yeah. And Bryan possibly doesn't even have a chance to do it. The title unification is for the Ring of Honor Pure title and the Ring of Honor World title, as Bryan comes out the victor of this match and unifies both championships. I believe this is when the final countdown started because he used to come out to Self-Esteem by The Offspring. Yeah. I like that song a lot. It's a great song.
It is. It's a great song. That was just such a great period in time. That was really when I first got to see him without a mask, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
And just to see how talented he was, how technically proficient he was. Definitely wasn't what I expected from a Shawn Michaels student. I would say Spanky was kind of more in line with what Shawn did. But both were just fantastic. What is this more about this overrated wrestler, Bryan Danielson? Well, look at you using a fucking comma. Great.
I mean, I can't take anybody seriously that says WrestleMania 5 is the greatest WrestleMania of all time.
Did he write this in crayon? Is that what it is? Or I don't know. Like I can't.
He possibly did. He absolutely, he possibly did. I mean, this is the guy that says Christian is the greatest Canadian wrestler ever.
I actually
So-
really like WrestleMania 5, but I mean, it's not top 5.
Is it 17? Is it 21? I don't think so.
So no.
A lot of people say 39 is up there already.
It was a really good show.
Hmm.
Oh my god. We're gonna have to talk about this. All right. So Tyler, are you ready with your
I am.
trivia
I
question?
am.
All right, why don't
Yeah,
you
I
ask
am.
your trivia question and then I'll ask this when we jump out of intermission. We'll start with this, move on to Gunther, and then let Pat go.
Okay. Who is the very first King of the Ring?
Dino Bravo.
No. Right era, wrong guy.
Pedro Morales.
No, it's later. Fuck, I know this.
You've asked this question before when we talked about King of the Rings, and I didn't get it right because I know Brett won second and third.
I don't think Brett won the second and third.
Brett won back to back.
Yeah, he did win back to back, but there were a couple in between there.
Haku?
No.
Not Harley Race, right? No,
No.
Harley was. I'm thinking of all the kings. Hacksaw Jim Duggan? No, he won the first Royal Rumble. That's what he is. Wow, this is a good one. I gotta rack the old brain. It wasn't Brett though, was it?
No, it wasn't.
No,
Brett won back to back. He won the 93 year.
91 and
Yes.
93.
Yeah,
It was
because
one in 92.
those are his years. You know, like,
Yeah.
he was really flying high.
Because the Hearts won three straight King of the Rings.
Yeah. Owen, baby.
Owen's
Owen.
great.
Miss Owen.
Yeah.
Fuck. Dino Bravo, you said, right? Bright era.
He did, yeah.
And it was definitely after Morales, because Dino Bravo was that era.
Okay, so maybe it's a little before Dino Bravo then.
Was it?
And it wasn't Morales.
No. Is 1983 if that helps.
1983?
Mhm.
9 years or 8 years before.
All right.
Man, none of us on here were alive.
No, hold on. I know, I feel like I know this. I can see this motherfucker, but I'm drawing a blank. Not Dino Bravo. He's a Canadian, right?
No.
Or he wrestled in Canada?
I don't think
We
so.
might have. No, okay.
I mean,
you know what? Don Morocco.
Yep.
Don Morocco?
Don Morocco.
Yeah.
There you go. Nice. Awesome.
Nice.
I love it. I love when we don't. I love that we can actually get this. I love that. Look at that, July 8th, 1985. Look at that. Oh man, we did have somebody in the chat on us. So here we go. Well, we did it without you, D. We did it without you.
So when did the title shot get implemented to it? Was that in the 90s?
I think it was 95 because that's when, remember Mabel versus Diesel at
Yes. SummerSlam, right? I
Yeah.
believe it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then they would do the King of the Ring in June, and then it would go to the SummerSlam.
Finn Balor's favorite pay-per-view. SummerSlam 95.
Nice.
I was just watching his special last night.
Why has nobody done a move called the SummerSlam? Like, why has nobody been like, yo, I'm gonna debut a move called the SummerSlam at SummerSlam? Why not?
I don't know.
I mean, it's not like it could get any fucking cornier, I mean,
Yeah.
whatever.
We got guys with tractors and
Yeah.
I mean,
All right,
dudes
so
are literally pretend fighting in their fucking underwear and tights. Come on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It would make sense, absolutely. They do have a sunset flip, so it is funny.
It's funny you say that. I was talking to Lou about this the other day, and I was like, people get mad when stuff happens in wrestling that they do in movies and TV all the time. But if they'd be the first people to be like, that's fake, right?
Yeah. That's
why are you mad, bro?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Somebody will come and complain about Star Wars and be like, "Oh, it's fucked up that Luke Skywalker got his hand cut off." Luke Skywalker went to George Lucas's office. Yo, this isn't cool, man. I gotta go over. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, no.
yeah, I
Like,
gotta go over.
let's
Yeah,
tell a fucking story here, guy. You know? Come on.
exactly. Speaking of stories, why don't we talk about this? Since From the Dungeon podcast thinks that WrestleMania 5 is the greatest storyline of all time. So I ask you guys, is the Mega Powers implosion the greatest wrestling storyline of all time, or do you have your personal opinion? What is your personal opinion of the greatest wrestling storyline of all time?
Question.
That is a great
I love
question.
It's up there, I think, though.
Agreed. You know what? I'm gonna give a hot take. I'll just go right now. I think the Bloodline's the greatest storyline in the history of the business. There you go. That's a good talking point right there. Because
I would have agreed with you 6 months ago.
if Cody finished the story,
Even maybe a little after that.
I'd like to put myself over for saying finish the story again on the show because I love saying that.
Absolutely, that's.
I
great.
feel like
That's
if
great.
I don't know, I kind of feel like it jumped the shark after SummerSlam when they had that just awful match, and like then now for some reason Jimmy's back in the Bloodline.
Wait, the J match?
Jimmy's, yeah.
I thought it was a good match. I will say that the crowd was fatigued. I think the crowd was out.
That could be it. That could be it.
Yeah.
I think I was fatigued too.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not anything supernatural. I mean, it happens. You know what I'm saying? I think with anything, even with movies, you know, I mean, you can go to a movie, and if you know the movie is not like, see, he couldn't even spell Paddy right. But you know, like even if the movie's a little too long and you're not that into it, and you get, you know, they peak you too early. You know what I mean? In the movie, you know, it's hard to watch it later on. You know.
Well, and this jabron here ruined the show for me. So.
Which one, Lou?
Yeah.
SummerSlam?
Yeah.
You spoiled it?
Finn's gonna win the title for sure. I know he's gonna win.
I told Pat about this.
He doesn't win, and I'm just like, I'm fuck this company. I'm done.
I told Pat about that. Yeah, we just had this conversation the other day. I told him how mad you were that I convinced you that Finn was gonna win the title.
Because I never would have expected it.
No, yeah, I didn't expect it either. I think Rollins is keeping that thing till Mania, man. I really think so.
And I had your thing from last week where he keeps going against guys that people want to see win. I had a solution for that.
Dom.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Dom would be fantastic. I loved his match with Sammy. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
I thought that was a solid title defense for TV, man. Between two of the best in the world right now.
I think a lot of people would be happy if Dom won the title, though. I don't think you understand how many people would be happy.
I agree with you, but like, still, I think the reaction that he gets, overall, I think it would be better for Seth if he would.
I think it would be better for wrestling if they put that fucking world title on him. It'd be like putting it on Logan Paul.
It would be amazing.
I mean, but we'll get
the
there.
The NWO before it went off the rails is the best storyline in wrestling.
That's why I can't give it the best storyline. I feel like the best storyline has to have a beginning, middle, and an end. The Bloodlines is still going. We're in the middle of this like story being given to us. So Pat might be right about this. It might be the Bloodline. I can't think of a story that's.
One more person tells me we're in the third inning and I'm gonna puke.
No, I think we're in the fifth.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in the fifth now. Cody said we're in the fifth. Yeah,
but it's a double header, you know. So
yeah, it's great.
So do they still want to turn him face?
Yeah,
Roman.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna work.
That's been the goal.
They should double turn him and Cody.
Here's the thing about
have Cody come out and say, like, look, everyone wants everything now. They want all this instant gratification, blah, blah, blah. That's not what the American dream was all about. That's why I'm the American nightmare and shit on the fans. And
that would make sense. The problem is I don't think Roman can ever be a babyface with a part-time schedule. So unless he's planning on coming back and working like 52 matches a year.
I think he could. He could
work for Brock.
They would have to. You would have to
get him a cowboy hat.
Get him a cowboy hat. Have him start rocking Niner gear. I'm totally cool with that.
100%.
But make him a sympathetic figure. It's easy. You just make him a sympathetic figure. That's all there is to it. You know, and you can do that. I mean, how many times have we seen it in the business? You know.
Yeah. Every time we think someone's never going to be a babyface, like 2009 Randy Orton, that was the peak Randy Orton heel, like, kissing unconscious women, punting Vince McMahon, punting Triple H, all of this shit that he did, and then he becomes like one of the top baby faces in the biz. I mean, it'll happen.
I don't know that I've ever been able to see him as a baby face since, though. Like,
You're just a natural Randy hater, though.
No, I loved him then, but like, I don't know. I haven't liked much of what he's done. His matches with Drew were awesome. But
Literally,
beyond that,
every match this man has ever had, except for his Jinder Mahal match, has been spectacular. What do you mean his matches with Drew McIntyre?
Yeah, they were awesome.
Yeah, but he had great matches his entire career.
I don't need to see a match where he's the main objective is to rip a guy's earring out.
Oof.
I love that. I was hoping they did. That would be great. Jeff Hardy, that's what made Jeff Hardy such a big baby face at that point.
It's really
in his career.
uncomfortable.
It was great.
Between that and then didn't they hook it to something on a ladder or something at one point? Well, that's what people in Jeff Hardy's ear.
Is it worse than Triple H pulling out Batista's nose?
No, it's not worse. That was.
I'll top you guys with one right here. It's nowhere near as bad as when Rey Mysterio lost his eye. All right?
Oh my god, yeah. That was the best thing Seth Rollins ever did in his career.
Oh, dude, that was my god.
That was the start. That was the start of this. Like,
it was so ridiculous. It really was.
Is that scarier than Shawn Michaels losing his smile?
Oh yeah, that's true.
That was pretty harsh. Yeah, that was.
No, he found it at the bottom of a bottle of pills. He found it though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad you said. I'm glad you didn't say amount of coke. Thank you.
No. He was a pillhead. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Told you.
That's great. So why don't we move on to like a lighter topic here? So Gunther has been making the round, or Gunther, want to say it correctly. Gunther's been making the rounds recently as the Intercontinental Champion, branching out more, doing interviews. A couple of weeks ago, he did an interview talking about Bret the Hitman Hart and talking about how he didn't appreciate Bret's negative words towards his match with Sheamus at Cardiff. And I don't think Bret was talking specifically about Gunther and Sheamus, but he was talking about the card as a whole. And I like that Gunther stood up for the whole, like, the whole company, almost like, we're working our asses off.
I mean, one of the best shows they've had in years. Sure, he just shits on it.
That was a really good show. Yeah, the Saudi shows recently have been great. And then this week he went in on some nostalgia by saying that the Ultimate Warrior was one of the worst wrestling gimmicks ever, saying that he is the epitome of what he's trying to erase in professional wrestling. What do you guys think of this new version of Gunther?
I like that he's shown some personality. I gotta disagree with him there. The gimmick was fine. It was the guy portraying it and his abilities that sucked.
He's specifically talking about on television. He's not talking about personal stuff like that. No, he's talking about the character of the Ultimate Warrior.
His wrestling was pretty bad, but the character itself was, who didn't paint? Well, you probably did Sting. I was gonna say, who didn't paint themselves up whenever there was face painting, like the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, the Warrior was great in that sense, man. He connected with a lot of people, but I like what Gunther's saying because he's a wrestler,
Yes.
and he's sticking up for wrestling. And to Tyler's point, I love to see personality out of him. I love to see more dimensions out of him because, people just think like, well, my kids, they say that he looks like Gru with hair, which is kind of funny. I never put that one together, Gru with hair, but right? Yeah, you see it. But I just like seeing him talk more and have more of a personality instead of just this mauler, old school throwback wrestler in the ring. I think they kind of want to do with him what they couldn't do with Claudio. You know what I mean? Because he has that kind of ability. He has that kind of level to him. But I know I'm going to be in the minority when I say this. I think he was more menacing looking when he was bigger, man. When he was a little bit heavier, I think he was more menacing looking, man.
I think he's plenty menacing when he power bombs a guy like Otis.
Yeah, it's impressive.
It's one of those things where it's like, holy shit. But I've said this before, and I don't remember which one of you I said this about, but I feel like this Gunther versus Miz thing was what we were supposed to get with Bryan versus Miz. because this is exactly what happened on Talking Smack. This is Gunther telling him he doesn't like anything about him. He doesn't like his style. He doesn't like his in-ring ability. He doesn't like what he represents in professional wrestling. And Gunther calling himself a pure wrestler and pointing out that this is like what he does in the ring is sacred. I really feel like they're gonna one up the Bryan Miz feud, and I'm looking forward to it. I think this is a great way to do it. I mean, honestly, if Gunther winds up dropping the IC title to the Miz, I mean, I don't think that it's not going to happen. But I feel like if it did, would people be shocked? I mean, the amount of times the Miz has won that title, I feel like it's
but it would be a letdown, man, because Miz at this stage in his career is a guy that helps get other guys over. He's a guy that helps people get over. He didn't
get over LA Knight.
That's a whole other ball of wax. But you know, he's trusted with taking talents that are on the peak of kind of getting over and helping them get over and helping them progress. He's very good at the WWE style of storytelling. That's what he's good at. He's a good PR guy. He's the guy that's going to go and he's going to talk to the people from the TV shows and all that other stuff. That's his role. He's a good ambassador for the company.
100%.
As a wrestler, I think we've seen all we've seen out of Mike Mizanin. He's still very effective at what he does. I think any promoter would want to have him on the roster because he's good at what he does. But I think in this instance, his job is to get Gunther to that next level and perhaps change the perception of him a little bit and maybe add a little personality to him.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, he's absolutely an asset to any company because I mean, he works his ass off and he can do what he needs to do in the ring. Like you said, he does all the PR stuff. He can talk. He's an asset to any company, but the idea of him beating Gunther for the IC title is just what a waste.
Yeah, it would be incredibly deflating, and I just think that it would completely undo all the good work that they've done with the Intercontinental title, with featuring it as an attraction on the card now, because now they kind of have that Mayweather thing going on with it now where people want to tune in to see who's going to beat him. And I think if you're going to have somebody beat him, it's got to be somebody young. That's a star-making win. And I just think that Miz doesn't need it at this phase in his career.
Right. Yeah, I'm not even sure who it would be at this point.
Braun Breaker. You know, you debut him, you turn him face. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, you know?
I love that. I love that. I know Tyler loves that.
And let me tell you, those
huge
two
fan.
They're going to kick the crap out of each other.
Oh, my God. That match would be phenomenal. Yeah. Because from what it looks like in NXT is I think they're refining Carmelo Hayes as a heel. They're refining, like, let's make him a heel again because that's how he gets over the best. It looks like they're making him heel before moving him up to the main roster. That's what it feels like to me with this whole Trick Williams thing. So I don't think it'll be somebody like a Carmelo Hayes. Braun Breaker makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, yeah. And he's menacing. He's menacing. You know, he looks like a good matchup with Gunther. And I gotta say too, I like that they've been putting him in matches with guys like Bronson Reed, with bigger guys like that. Like, even if they're heels too, you know, like, make it interesting, man. You know what I mean? I want to see Gunther take on those bigger guys. I want to see them kick the crap out of each other, you know? Like, let's go. Let's do it, you know? Yeah. But I think Breaker, you know, like, you look at that, just imagine those two standing in front of each other, you know? People are going to eat it up, man. And especially if you have Breaker beat him, forget about it. Star-making moment.
I would like a debut, like have Gunther retain his title at WrestleMania and then have like the Raw after Mania. Gunther Open Challenge, very AJ Lee style. Nobody could beat me. I'm the greatest ever. I've eclipsed Honky Tonk Man. Like, you know, obviously he's going to go like 100 days over Honky Tonk Man. And then just bring, like, you hear the sirens. You see that stupid wolf teddy bear that he has on his fucking head. Let's hope they don't do that again. And he just kind of comes out and fans lose their shit because that's what the Mania crowd's going to do at an NXT debut.
Yeah, that's a perfect perfect way to debut him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definite holy shit chant.
Gunther. Yeah, 100%. Especially if Gunther loses the title on Raw after Mania, that's going to go over like crazy. And then Philly? It kicks off a feud. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah. That would be great. Too bad there's no wrestlers that are from Philly right now. I feel like that would be
Gulak, but he's not really over. Gulak's a guy to me, man, that I'm like, what a shame, because the guy's like so good.
So
He's
Yeah.
so fucking good in the ring.
yeah.
And I don't know, I guess just they never really found that thing for him to connect with the audience with. You know, they tried with him and Danielson for a little bit there,
Mm.
but it
You
just
know,
kind of
Pat,
went off the
one of
rails.
the things that you used to talk about back in the day, me and you have talked about how AEW really fumbled the bag when Bryan Danielson debuted. What if WWE learned from that mistake, and instead of it being a guy like Braun Breaker, what if Will Ospreay is the guy that debuts Raw after Mania and beats Gunther?
That would be cool. That
That'd
would
be
be
cool,
cool. That would be excellent. I mean, look, I think at this stage, anywhere Will Ospreay goes is going to be interesting because the
Fuck
kid is
yeah.
that talented. He's that good.
Mhm.
I would like to see him go to WWE just because I think that would be interesting. AEW is kind of still very much his comfort zone, like what he does in Japan. And look, I mean, it's great. Impact too, you know, like that's
Right.
very much his comfort zone. WWE would be fascinating because now we're going to see another layer of Will Ospreay. More
Yeah.
importantly, all those big things that he does so well, he's going to save those things for the big shows.
Yeah.
And I think
Do you think-
him and Rollins would just be phenomenal.
Do you think they make him go to NXT?
No.
I don't know, dude. I mean, like, the thing is like, okay, so people who are casual wrestling viewers or people who watch Monday Night Raw and SmackDown regularly, they're not going to know who he is.
Right.
Hardcores are going to know who he is. They're you know, obviously hardcores are going to hype him up. And look, when the dude gets in there and does his thing, that's going to speak for itself, no doubt.
Yeah.
But you got to think that because of his style and because he's so exciting, you could put him on Raw or SmackDown and he'll get over. You know,
No,
what
I
mean?
definitely think you could. It's just like I've seen them do it with guys like Nakamura, guys like Owens and Zayn.
Mhm.
Like they're the biggest names on the indies when they came in, and they still sent them there.
But a lot's changed since then. I think they've refined that system, you know,
Maybe.
and they know what to do. Like they'll, you know, if anything, they'll have Ospreay go through the paces at the PC and
Mhm.
see, okay, you got to work on this, you got to do that, you got to do this, or we do this here, we do that here, blah blah blah. I mean, look, dude, the kid's been around long enough. He's not getting
Mhm.
all this hype for no fucking reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They know how good he is.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, wherever he goes, it's obviously going to get attention.
I think he can debut very similar to AJ Styles.
Yeah.
I definitely think he can. I'm just curious as to what their philosophy you think would be with
Well,
it.
remember the way they did it. He debuted at Royal Rumble. They brought him out the next Monday night on Raw. And what's the first thing he does? Doesn't he become number one contender almost immediately? Almost like here we're just gonna jump right into it. Like he doesn't win.
He got number one contender of the Raw after Mania.
Okay.
He was Roman's first challenger.
Yeah. Yes, it
Yeah.
was. Yes. Yeah. I mean, they could definitely do really good things with him. But yeah,
I'd like to see him
down-
and Ricochet do it again, man.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, and I
I'd
think
like to
in,
see
in
that.
this company, oh yeah, I would absolutely love to see that. I think that would be great. But Pat, is there any other wrestling topics you'd like to talk about since you're the guest of the show here, bud?
I mean, you know, I feel like we've kind of addressed a lot of the stuff that's going on in wrestling, whether it's one Carlos Miguel Punk, whether it's some of the things that are going on with AEW, with Impact, stuff that's coming out. Obviously, it's a really good time to be a wrestling fan. And I think more than anything else, I will just tell the viewers of this show, like I do with Working the Marks, enjoy the wrestling, people. Enjoy it for what it is. This is awesome stuff. We're in a really good era where there's a lot of different choices and things are very accessible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could watch wrestling in Germany on my phone. You know what I mean? Whereas back in the day, we had to go get a videotape, you know, from RF Video or somewhere else, you know what I mean, and order it to watch it. I could watch it at the touch of my hands, you know? And I think it's great. It's great for wrestling. And look, you know, whether you like AEW or you don't, or like WWE or you don't, enjoy it, man. You know, appreciate, don't hate, man. You know what I'm saying? That's all I can say.
Yeah,
That's what I tried to tell myself a few weeks ago. Like I was getting worked up, and then I was like, look, it's supposed to be fun. That's what I went into Crown Jewel. Like, I'm just gonna enjoy this show, and it was fun.
Yeah, man, that's what it's about, you know. And I think not being a prisoner of the moment, not getting hung up on one booking, let's see where this goes. Let's see where this marinates. Let's see what the payoff is. And just enjoy the ride. You know what I mean? I think everybody's so hell bent to get to the end of Roman's reign, no pun intended, that they just want to get there already. You know what I mean? And it's like, enjoy this ride. Enjoy all these little moments. Enjoy all these great matches. I mean, you know, that match with him and Sammy, I thought was phenomenal. One of the best matches of his reign. I mean, he's had a lot of great matches, but that one, I think, just because of the emotion of that crowd, you know what I mean? And just them being solidly behind Sammy. And Sammy's another guy, man. I got to give him his flowers, man. Like, this guy, I mean, in the amount of time, like, I want to say, like, what, like the last 4 or 5 years, the way he has just evolved, what he's become now as like a baby face. And I was telling Lou about this. I love the fact that he doesn't really cut the stereotypical babyface promo. He doesn't go out there and say, hey, you know, we're here in, you know, Wichita, Kansas, you know, or whatever. He doesn't mention the sports teams, or he doesn't do any of like the stereotypical tropes, right? But what he does is he cuts a very passionate, emboldened promo that gets the crowd behind him in a very, very organic way. And I just think he's one of those guys right now that's just amazing, man. I mean, I wasn't always his biggest fan, I'll be honest. You know, I appreciated him as El Generico when I used to see him at Jersey All Pro, when I would see him, you know, in ROH and all the indies around here. But, you know, when he got to WWE, I was like, man, like, talk about a right shoe on the left foot. Like, this is a little strange. Okay. But, you know, we saw where it went. You knew he had the talent, but just the evolution of him, I think, as a character and as a promo. I mean, I'll say it right now. I think he's one of the best promos in the business.
Yeah,
totally agree.
That's hard to argue for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely one up this game. He's done a really good job there, and I think that's really strong because as I said earlier this week, I believe right now, and Pat, I believe you and I talked about it specifically. This is one of the strongest tag divisions we've ever had in professional wrestling, and the Usos aren't tagging right now; they're separated.
Yeah,
and I feel the same way about talkers in the business. We have more like brilliant talkers right now than I feel like we've ever had in professional wrestling. Like, we could probably rattle off right now, but all three of us right now could probably rattle off 20 great talkers in the business right now at this moment.
In every company. Every company. This isn't just even a WWE or AEW thing. Like, this is Impact, you know, I mean, shit, you know, any indie around here, New Japan. I mean, there's great talkers in every company. There's great talkers in every company. And, you know, it's fascinating, and I just think that it creates a lot more interesting stories that get more people involved. You know what I'm saying? Which is what I hope AEW does a little bit more, because AEW has a lot of talent on their roster, but I don't know what's going on. But you know, I don't know. I hope something changes, man, because, you know, even though for me personally it's not my number one choice to watch, I like that it exists. I think it's great. It provides a great alternative to fans. And not only that, but you're employing other wrestlers. It keeps the business going. You know what I mean? A lot of people get to eat. A lot of people get to, you know, live because Tony Khan started this company. And I think we should all definitely respect him for that. You know what I mean? For starting up that company and for paying all these people and doing the things that he's done. And look, he seems like a genuinely nice person, man. He seems like a very thoughtful person, which is crazy to think, because this guy has millions, probably even billions of dollars. You know, and people who kind of have that much money aren't very grounded. Let's be honest. You know, but he seems like a very normal guy. And, you know, I think what he's done and what he's managed to do with AEW has been really impressive. I just hope that maybe perhaps 2024 is the year that maybe they kind of start to tinker a few things, and maybe we see them climb back up. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I do think that they should be further along. You know, I do. I think they should be further along.
I think they would be making another mistake if Hogan debuts in this company.
They don't need Hogan.
Yeah, I can't. I won't believe it until I see it.
Yeah.
I hope not. I'll be honest. I hope not.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, I love the fact that you talk about the success, or hopefully the success, of AEW, because when I look at them right now, there are really great parts that I love. Like I've mentioned this before, I think CJ Perry, Lana, whatever you want to call her, I think she's brilliant. And pairing her, and I've actually talked about this specific pairing, her with Andrade, is a way to get him into a spot where he's never been before. Now he has somebody who can talk and who can like do it in such a like charismatic way, like CJ Perry. Now she could do that for him, and he just has to work.
Yeah.
That's all he's got to do. This is going to be great. And the thing is, like, if he feuds with Miro and he winds up like, obviously we know the end of the story is Miro and CJ back together running shit, but getting there, Miro doesn't need anybody to talk for him because he's a good fucking talker too. Like
Right.
he's you know, he's great. So I love that story that we're getting. And there are certain parts of AEW that I really enjoy. Like I'm a fan of Bullet Club Gold. I love John Moxley. You know, I'm a fan of his. Not so much of Cesaro, but he's fine. I mean, he's really good. I don't know. I guess I prefer Sheamus in the bar, if I'm going to say it that way. You know, some of those young guys over there love Orange Cassidy. I mean, Pat, you and I have talked about Orange before.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Tyler, I know you're a big Orange Cassidy fan too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Orange Cassidy is what LA Knight wishes he could be. So, I mean, it's that simple.
He's very talented, man, and I think he's another guy who kind of gets an unfair shake from particularly, you know, some of the hardcores that maybe might not be AEW fans or maybe more WWE fans. But I mean, you watch that guy work, you see what he does out there, you see how the crowd is into him. That's the big thing, that connection that he has.
That's
you know
what matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he can go. He comes from a great background, trained by Mike Quackenbush at Shikara. Those guys are no slouches over there, man. They know what they're doing.
Man,
you know?
wouldn't that be something if OC was the devil?
Oh shit.
That would be a very interesting twist. And it would kind of be like when Bailey turned heel, you know, like when she cut up the Bailey buddies, you know.
Have you paid attention to Orange Cassidy recently? He's kind of been like walking away from the Best Friends Club. He hasn't really been his typical OC. It seems like not beating Mox really.
He did seem a little down, yeah.
So and then when you look at the slenderness of whoever's in that thing, the only people I can think of, or Jack, like obviously I got that from you, Pat, was the Jack Perry one. And then like if it's Britt Baker, if it's Adam Cole, you know, and then I was just thought about it now, like, holy shit, what if it's Orange Cassidy? Like it can't be some like monster dude.
What if he has two personalities? He's Orange Cassidy and the devil, like Finn Balor and the demon.
That would work.
Would it be the first time we've seen something like that in the business? So yeah,
I really prefer to see Ricochet and Prince Puma be the double. Like I really think Prince Puma would sell a shit ton of merchandise in WWE.
You are a Prince Puma guy. You really.
I really, dude. I loved watching that. I really did. I thought that was so much. It
was really fun to watch.
Fans, so yeah, I mean, I go back and watch Grindhouse right now. Like I just, you know, fucking Desperado, whatever.
So I did have one thing I wanted to kind of touch on.
All right, go for it. And then
you had a TikTok earlier this week where you asked like, what was the first match you ever showed your son?
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah, Pat, you could answer this too. This will be good. Yeah, go ahead.
So I was really interested because like, obviously I don't have kids, but like, if you wanted to show someone pro wrestling, like someone you cared about that you really wanted them to get into it, like what would you show them?
I would show them the whole build up, like the like a 5-minute package leading into the opening match of WrestleMania 10.
Okay.
Interesting.
Like I feel like brother versus brother, everybody has sibling rivalries, and you can see that. Or
not Vince McMahon. Rivalry.
Yeah. I feel like the
brothers don't fight.
Yeah, I feel like the best introduction to wrestling would have to be something that sticks. Everybody's argued with your best friend. Me and Pat, we've argued, and we argued in high school over a fucking girl.
We had a fight.
Yeah. So it's one of those things.
He's still recovering. It was an easy win for me, but whatever. No, we're not here to talk about that. All right.
All right. So yeah,
there's a couple times if we were in the same place, I'm pretty sure we would have thrown down. So you know,
I'd have mopped the floor with you. And then
you're probably right.
like what I was gonna say is I would show them WrestleMania 10's lead up or SummerSlam 2002, the lead up for Shawn and Triple H, because that's best friends fighting each other.
Okay.
So I feel like those would be the best ways to get someone into professional wrestling. Yeah.
Interesting.
Mhm.
The first official match I showed my son
Mhm.
was Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero at Halloween Havoc. And
Great choice.
now it's funny because when they were babies, I would put the network on the tablet and I would just
Yeah.
rock them and watch matches. So technically my kids have been watching wrestling since they were born. You know, they
Yeah.
just finally realized what the fuck it was when they got a little bit older. But yeah, I put that match on and he was just captivated. And you know, they're both my kids, my son and my daughter, both love Rey Mysterio. My son cannot stand Dominic. It is the funniest.
That is Arthur's favorite wrestler right now.
I love how my son is so hardcore babyface. It's amazing.
Oh,
It is
man.
amazing. He can't stand out. He hates Roman. He used to love Roman.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, why don't you like Roman? And he's like, because he turned his back on his family. I was like, wow, that's pretty deep. You know, like, you wouldn't expect that from a little kid, like a 9-year-old.
Not wrong.
Yeah.
I cannot wait till we do this father-son podcast because Arthur is the opposite, bro.
Oh, it's
he
great.
loves bad guys.
Yeah.
He loves Hannibal Lecter. He loves the Joker. Like, I mean,
That's my nephew.
Yeah.
This kid's all face. Like he's like, you know, like I'll joke around sometimes, call him Boy Scout, you know, like he's like Steve Rogers or something. I don't know. Like he's got a heart of gold, this kid sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, are you my kid? Like if you don't look like me, man, you're really pure and nice. But now he loved it. He fell in love with that match. And now he just goes on Peacock on his own and he just watches stuff nonstop. And he's like, hey, Dad, I watched this match. And then we'll talk about it for a little bit, or he'll ask me something to watch. You know, obviously Dynamite Kid, Tiger Mask. I mean, my son's seen that, of course.
Yeah.
He's seen, you know, a lot of the Japanese stuff that I like too, Muda, you know, Chono, stuff like that. You know, and he has watched some AEW. And, you know, he actually really likes Orange Cassidy. He watches AEW, I'd say, more than she does. She she stopped. She's like, there's no girls. And I was like, what? She's like, there's not enough girls. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. You know, because typically you'll hear that from fans online. But to hear that from a 9-year-old girl, it's
Again,
like, wow.
She's not wrong.
Yeah, she's not wrong. You know what I'm saying?
She's not wrong. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the video I posted the other day was talking about how like Eddie Guerrero versus Brock Lesnar was the first match that Arthur and I watched, and that's actually where Arthur fell in love with Brock Lesnar.
That's a great
that was his guy. Then we moved on to Punk versus Cena, Money in the Bank, and that's like the video I have where like he was studying CM Punk, like he was all about it when Cena came out. He was like, "Oh yeah, this is cool." When Punk comes out, this boy is sitting on the couch, like just in awe of Punk. You know what I mean? Like he just loved him entirely. But yeah, Arthur, I don't know. I mean, he's watched everything just like you, Pat. Like he's watched everything. He's watched old Sting matches. He's watched Great Muta, Mr. Perfect, because I'm a big fan of Perfect's work. He's watched a lot of Brett.
Mr. Perfect. Yeah.
I mean, Arthur's a bigger Shawn Michaels fan than Bret Hart fan.
Nice.
That's my nephew.
Really, he absolutely loves the Heartbreak Kid. It's funny because he still kind of talks like a child, like a kid, and he calls him the Heartbreaking Kid. So it's pretty funny. And I'm like, that's what he did. He broke Bret Hart's heart. That's what exactly.
He really did.
Yeah.
Broke a lot of hearts, you know. He broke a lot of hearts, man. 97 HBK might be one of the greatest, if not the greatest, scumbag we've ever seen. I put him up there with Edge during his run in the mid 2000s, Randy Orton, when he kicked John Cena's father in the head, and Homelander from The Boys. I mean, those are just some of the greatest scumbags I think we've ever seen on any program.
Yeah,
but 97
absolutely.
HBK was just, as the kids say, he was a menace.
Yeah, I've tried to sit Arthur down to watch, like, just because I feel like I want him to be well-rounded. Like, I'm like, oh, here's Hulk Hogan or whatever, and he'll watch it, and he's not even. I'm like, buddy, you got to understand, in the 80s, like, this guy was it. Like, there was no wrestling without this man. Like, if he's not successful, we're not watching wrestling today. And, you know, it's kind of one of those things that he's just not interested. He's like, I don't like his finishing move is just he just drops his butt on your face, and I'm like, no, it's a leg drop, like it's a leg drop, like it's
He
but
farts
yeah,
on the way down,
Yeah.
that's kind of what he says. He's just like, he's like, I don't even know how that would make, like, I would never let somebody beat me with that. And I'm like, yeah, well, there are like Sid Vicious did that to him. He kicked out of the leg drop,
Yeah.
but
So I don't have kids, so the closest thing I have is a couple different girlfriends I've had that I try to get into it. One was you met her, Kate. And the first match I showed her was He Who Shall Not Be Named versus Chris Jericho in a ladder match from Royal Rumble 2001.
Yep, awesome match.
Yeah. And then with Sarah, she was a big like comic book, like Marvel type fan. So the first thing she ever saw was Finn Balor as the Demon wrestling, I think it was Neville. It was a tournament to get the title shot on NXT.
Okay.
I think it was Neville. He beat Kenta to get to the final. I think it was Neville for the title shot.
Well, that was
Balor
like peak NXT, man. That was like peak NXT.
It was the same night as Owens won the beat Sammy for the title.
Murdered him.
Oh my god, that was great.
Yeah,
that was great.
What a great finish. We haven't seen a finish like that in a long time. I could see Gunther replicating that right now.
Absolutely.
Like that would make sense to me. That's
Kev is just so good though, man. Like he just has so much personality. Like that's the thing about Kev. Like he's such a good talker, and he knows how to make people feel things. That's the thing with him, Do
you think that Sammy shines more away from him because of that?
I'll be honest. I think Sammy was shining in their tag team. I think, but I think the focus was more on Sammy than it was on Kevin, and Kevin understood that. And more importantly, I think he wanted the perception of his best friend to change in the eyes of the fan. So like because of that, I think he went that extra mile to help do that. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah, I could see that.
I think there's there could be some truth to it, but I think regardless, they both just shine so much, because they're so good at what they do. And for guys that are very new school, they're very old school in the way they perform and the way they are, and just as characters. And I think the best example is when you see guys like that on a house show. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You get to see them perform at a house show. You see how good they are and how old school they are and the way they work. And, they're working an arm bar and all this stuff. And you're like, wow, you really don't see that much on TV anymore.
Pat, have you seen the Weekend Escapades?
No, what is that?
It's Kevin Steen back when he was doing like indies. He and there's a few of them that are on Reddit that YouTube took them down. It's called Google Kevin Steen Weekend Escapades. He films like a 20-30 minute video of his weekend, like starting from when he leaves his house to wherever he works and who he's with.
Nice. Does he stop at a zoo at all? Because I know he's a big zoo guy. He loves zoos.
I think maybe there was one where he was like an indie that he worked and then he went outside and he was trying to feed the ducks. Yeah.
I remember the last time I saw him in Ring of Honor. Excuse me. He had the John Cena t-shirt, like the circle one. Yeah. With like John Cena inside, doing the whole thing. And it was him like hugging two pandas or something. And it was like Kevin Steen, animal enthusiast. Yeah. Like I thought it was friggin' hilarious. But yeah, that sounds cool. I'll give that
right around that. It's right around that time. Yeah. Because it stopped because he signed with WWE, and I'm pretty sure that's why it got taken down as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope he gets something soon, man. I hope he gets because I mean, like it's not like he hasn't gotten anything, but like I just think that his work has been so good these last few years that it's almost like you want to see him with a title. Like you want to see him get a singles title. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whether that's Logan Paul or not remains to be seen. I would like to. I think that's better than LA Knight because I think the fans are more invested in Owens than they are in LA Knight. But
yeah, especially with him being suspended now, like that's the angle because he's feuding with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. I think that's actually a really great, safe bet right there.
Yeah,
like I think the fans are very invested. I'm hoping eventually we see Nick Aldis actually work in the ring because I'm a fan of his as well. So Obviously, we can't see Scrappy work, but we can see
Scrap Daddy. You talk about Scrap
Yeah.
Iron Adam Pearce, former NWA World Champion, who I always have to put over that way because he's a great guy. No, he's great. I mean, Aldis is confusing to me because he's English, but he calls himself the National Treasure. So how does that work? Like, what nation is he the treasure of? You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to figure that out.
Probably a pet name Mickey James gave him.
She could call anybody whatever she wants, but I would like to see at some point Logan Paul, Theory, and Waller in some kind of stable, and call it the Influencers. You know, because that would be.
I like it.
That would be heat. You know what I mean? Because all three of those guys are assholes.
We know that Logan Paul's going to do something exciting because he just announced on his Twitter that he will be at the Australia show defending the United States Championship.
Yeah.
So we're going to get something here. So, I mean,
that's
hopefully
in
he
February.
Doesn't drop the championship. Well, you know, he's just telling everybody he's going to be there. So, you know.
He'll be at some of the other ones too, I think, in the meantime. I mean, look, with a guy like that, though, it kind of works that he doesn't show up all the time because it gets heat from the fans and they know it and they use it in storylines. They talk about it all the time. Like when Rollins was trying to get himself over as a face, you know, I'm a champion that's going to be here and defend the title. Yeah, because they know fans say that. And that's an easy way to make a guy a face and it's an easy way to make a guy a heel. Don't show up, make him an attraction. You know,
kind of the problem is, though, they're both on the same show, Roman and Logan. Mm-hmm. So then there's no champions.
Yeah. And I think it kind of undoes a lot of the good work that Triple H did with those mid-card titles when he took the book, you know, because I think that was something that he kind of like emphasized, especially when Roman had both titles. He really made it a point to make those titles important. The US title kind of fell by the wayside though for a little bit there, you know, kind of the momentum kind of got flat.
Once Theory got it.
Yeah, which was a shame because on paper you would think this guy would be interesting, they'd be compelling, and but it just, I don't know, it didn't work out for him. And Gunther only just rose once he had that title. I mean, it was just, that was it.
It'll be fine, you know, when it's all said and done in 10-15 years, LA Knight and Austin Theory will be like our era's version of Steve Blackman and Ken Shamrock. It'll be fine.
Oh man, the Lethal Weapon, man.
Yeah, don't let Steve Blackman hear you. He's not.
I know he lives. He's
not too far away.
I definitely don't want.
He's a badass dude. I remember being at a wrestling show with Loki one time, and we were talking, and Loki was like, "You know, Steve Blackman was in quarantine in Africa," and I was just like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, Steve Blackman, he got a virus." And they had to keep him there for 6 months. And I was like, what the fuck? And he just told me this whole story about how Steve Blackman was held in quarantine and that, you know, he had to wait for the virus to go away, but that they kept him in a bubble and like people would come to visit him in the bubble. And then like he was trying to get the African promoter to pay him more. Like, it was just like, and the guy's like, I can't do anything. You're in a bubble. You know, like it was fucking hilarious though. But the most random thing I had heard, and then to hear it from Loki is even funnier. You know?
Yeah, especially because he's so fucking slow. It is like the way he talks to you and shit. Because he
his
really
voice
does
is so
talk
deep.
like that in real life. Like it doesn't. Like he's Brandon. Brandon, but he still talks like that in real life. Like he's very monotoned and like, you know, I'm gonna be working Buffy tonight.
He's very, very serious. But you know, I mean, I think Kenny Omega was the one guy I think that summed it up the best. Like. Loki's incredibly serious, almost to a fault, but you need guys like that in the business. Like you need. Yeah,
Jeff Jarrett actually just put him over because Connor just asked about on Jeff's podcast. He just asked about Loki and if he was hard to work with, and he said that Loki was really great. The problem is he really took himself seriously. Like that's you know. Some guy, but he said that that's what you need in the business. Some guys need to take themselves seriously, you know. But
he always felt like he had something to prove. That's the thing, you know.
Because he's so short.
Yeah, because he was a smaller guy. I'll never forget when he was JCW champion before they became GCW. And me and my cousin would, you know, we were training, we were working backstage, doing ring crew, all this stuff. And he comes up to me and he's like, "How much do you weigh?" And I was just like, 170. And he's like, "How much do you weigh?" He asked my cousin. My cousin's like 150. And he's like, "I'm gonna squat you." And then he just puts my cousin on his shoulders, fireman carry style. and bust out like 50 squats there. And my cousin's like looking at me like, what the fuck? And I'm just like, hey, it's Loki, whatever.
If he's gonna fucking squat, you're gonna let him do it. Like it's
Yeah,
just that
yeah.
simple. Like,
And
what
it
are
was
you
so
gonna do?
funny because like right after somebody from like, I guess that work with the company was like, Loki likes you guys. And we were like, what? He's like, yeah. I mean, if he's like using you as like gym equipment, he definitely likes you guys because he doesn't do that shit with anybody. We were just like, okay. And he did. He ended up liking us. He was cool with us. But it was really
Absolutely.
funny.
I love it. On that note, guys, because that's a perfect way to end the show there with a good little Loki story there.
Yeah.
We do put Loki over a lot on this podcast. Well, at least one of us does.
Yeah.
And so, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to check out Working the Marks every Tuesday night at 9:30 or 9:45, depending on whenever Uribe is available, as Paddy Rican is the voice of, I guess, Jersey City or Weehawken. Where you at right now?
Weehawken.
Yeah.
I'm overlooking New York City right now. I'm up on the cliffs. So,
Yeah.
got a nice skyline view over here.
There you go. There you go. And Tyler, make sure that you check out the talent here, as Tyler hopefully will start posting more on TikTok for the show. And obviously, guys, you can check us out on all of our socials. They're at the bottom of the screen. Thanks again for tuning in. And this was our first show together. Hopefully it won't be our last. This was exciting. Pat, you need to come on more.
Yeah,
Definitely.
man. Thank you so much, man. I'm really happy I got to finally do a show with Tyler as well. It's been a long time coming, the three of us on here. And this is what's cool about Famcast Media. I'm not trying to put over Dave, even though motherfucker can't spell. And he's a bit of an asshole, but whatever. That's what we like about him, I guess. But no, this is the cool thing about Famcast. We all jump on each other's shows. We all do our things. We'd love to have you on Working the Marks at some point, Tyler.
Absolutely.
It would be great, And yeah, man. Thanks so much for having me on. Look forward to being on again. And it's always great to chop up all things wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much. And I don't know if we will be doing a Must Love Wrestling next week before the big day. So just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone who celebrates. And, enjoy your time with your family. And if you don't, go get that double overtime at work, however it works out. Until next time, guys, we're out.
Out.